Hey, so I know this might be a slight deviation from the normal stuff I make, but you guys seem chill with the idea of me trying some new stuff, so thanks for that. I wanted to talk about the show because it definitely has taken over the internet by storm and is what I call a giant middle finger to modern television. I am of course talking about Smiling Friends, created by two popular animation YouTubers, Zach Hadel, or some of you might know him online as Psychopebbles, and Michael Cusack, who you might know as the one who created the Rick and Morty April Fool's episode back in 2018. These two creators have gotten very popular for their animation style and writing. So guess what happens when you put these two absolute lunatics in a room together with a studio budget? That's right, you get Smiling Friends. The show's pilot aired all the way back in 2020 on April Fool's Day, with the rest of the first season airing in 2022. After the success of the first season, Adult Swim greenlit a season 2, which as of me writing the script has finally finished airing. Hey, so Future Slayer here. This video was supposed to be out like a year ago when the second season did finish. I just got really busy and I just couldn't get around to making it in time. So, better to be late than never. All the episodes are out and I can finally talk about the whole show and how the show needs to exist and how it raises the standard for most adult animations you see on TV. So with that all out of the way, let's get into it. Smiling Friends is a very simple premise, and that is to
get out there and make someone smile.
Which is something our main characters, Pim and Charlie, do over the course of the show. The show really doesn't have an overarching plot, since the direction it goes for each episode is just something absolutely batshit chaotic, which sometimes means it does deviate from the premise, but it still manages to be entertaining even if it does shy away from making people smile for an episode or two. Even if the cast goes off on a side tangent, there is continuity, and it will be brought up later in an episode, either as an argument point or as a joke. And this show would not be what it is today without our beloved employees. There are a lot of characters in Smiling Friends. Most of them are side characters, but they can still have an impact on the main characters, the Smiling Friends business, or even the viewer. Pim is wildly optimistic and cheerful and will go out of his way to make sure people smile, while Charlie is the complete opposite, being more laid back and apathetic. Alan is their inventory manager and sometimes exterminator. And then there's Gleb, who speaks such sophisticated English that it's almost like you can't understand him. They're all brought together under the genius businessman known as Mr. Boss, who is canonically one of the richest men in the world, and is schizophrenic. This probably also confirms that the depression rate is also extremely high if the pilot didn't already show that.
Whoa, oh my God. Whoa.
Hello. There are plenty of side characters and clients, the most iconic ones being Mr. Frog, who's a famous celebrity, Shrimp, who's a gamer, the Blackface Demon, Simon is Salty and his mascots, Mip the forest creature, DJ Spit, who's a SoundCloud rapper, Quimbly the video game mascot, James, this guy, and Satan. Yep, even Satan needed some help from the Smiling Friends to get over his rest addiction. Now, if you haven't noticed as I was showing off some of the characters, there is a lack of consistent character design. Unlike most shows that will keep like one bland art style and lack any unique identity, Smiling Friends just throws anything at the wall and it will fit regardless because of the setting of the show. Want to have basic characters with minimal color palettes? Sure, go ahead. Want to have a grossly detailed character like Mr. Boss, a giant ass fish, or fucking Bill Nye the Science Guy? Sure. Some 3D claymation? What the hell? Rotoscoping? We live in a free country for a reason. Or you could just say fuck it and have a guy in front of a green screen because that works too. I think the best part is that some of these characters were clearly intended to be designed this way. If you were to look at Satan, he would look a lot less intimidating if he was animated in the 2D art style like the rest of the show, and not the 3D claymation. The corporate executive is also designed with a splitting contrast from every other character because Zach and Michael wanted to poke fun at uninspired corporate animations. A lot of the characters are voiced by Zach and Michael, but a lot of them have very strange voice castings, and some of them are actually voice cameos from random YouTubers or other influential figures. Some of the most noticeable are Finn and Nick Wolfhart from Stranger Things, where Finn voices the man in the wall and Nick voices the Bliblies. Tom Fulp, the creator of Newgrounds, is voicing the Alpha Chad from episode 1. Dave Firth, the creator of Salad Fingers, voices Shrimp and Fillmore. Doug Walker, also known as the Nostalgia Critic, is Daniel the Demon Slayer from season 2, when the gang needs to watch a video about killing demons. Joel Haver, who is known for making rotoscope animations, not only voices the character Doug in season 2, but also animated a majority of the episode. There are plenty more cameos, but there's one specific one that you will instantly recognize. This little blue guy that is just ordering stuff from a coffee shop and doesn't seem all that memorable. But once you hear this guy's voice and what he's ordering, it will all make sense.
Number 15. Could I get the number 15?
Yep, Chills makes a cameo appearance, with this being a reference to the Burger King foot lettuce being placed at the number 15 spot on the list about mysteries solved by 4chan. While we had some absolute legendary voice cameos, one voice cameo was cut. In episode 5 in season 1, Charlie and Pim have to go solve a murder that one of these mascot characters could have done. Spoilers, they all desecrate the body. We get about 3 lines from this puddle of grease during the interrogation. And I want you to guess who was supposed to voice the puddle of grease. If you aren't familiar with the show, chances are you guessed wrong. F***ing Chris Chan was supposed to be in the show. And the reason why Chris was cut wasn't even because of his actions.
This is the truth. We were going to get Chris Chan,
We were 100%. When he was on our list. The reason he ended up getting cut was not even because of anything that happened. It was because we said, look, okay, we want this person to do the grease puddle, but you need to contact this person when it's all animated, because if you tell them now, they're gonna go on Twitter and go, I was just in the cartoon.
I was just approached by Hollywood, and now I'm
yeah, exactly. So he said, here's what we'll do. We'll do it like very, very, very. We'll lip sync it. Or production people came to us and said, well, look, there's like rules that say you can't just get somebody to do like a one-line cameo. You could do that, but you can only do it like once or twice. But he said, well, look, we've already done the Chills cameo. We can't do that twice just for budgetary reasons. If we get this person, they're going to have to be in like 2 other episodes and do other characters. We're like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. Like, it doesn't work. It's not funny that way. It literally just ended up being like a budget thing. It had nothing to do with anything.
I guess this is also another thing you can appreciate about the show, because it can just get as many random people as it wants in it, and it will still make sense because of the way the show is. As I've said in almost all the segments of this video, Smiling Friends is absolutely random. The backgrounds, the episodes, and even the characters. There is always something random happening in the backgrounds, or just something moving on screen all the time, especially when characters are reacting to the chaotic environment around them. The subtle details and little bits on screen, and even the absurdly detailed characters or even parody characters, can help create a more personal identity for this show, because this show can literally just be the show that has quite literally everything in it. The show doesn't stray away from meta humor and absurdity, as they can use that to point fingers and laugh at things that we've kind of been struggling with for the last couple of years. If you've seen any modern Marvel or DC movie or any TV shows or animated TV shows made recently, you know that the quality has significantly dropped from what we'd expect from the writers, the VFX artists, and the directors. Most of this is a result of studio greed, trying to milk any last drop of nostalgia and cash out of your pockets by nostalgia baiting with pointless reboots or cameos that in the long run taint the prior reputation those characters had. The easiest example off the top of my head is The Flash, completely shitting the bed with Michael Keaton's reprisal of Batman, and disrespectfully trying to bring back dead actors such as Christopher Reeves as Superman. Some other examples that should be more obvious is Marvel. As of me rewriting the script, as it is a good year out of date, Marvel still shits the bed when it comes to the MCU post-Endgame. And the only way for them to even get you slightly interested in the new movies is by the marketing, trying to bait you with nostalgia. Just spitballing a few real quick, Captain America Brave New World literally is just a knockoff version of the Winter Soldier, despite the director's attempt to say otherwise. Another example is Echo. I bet you never heard of this one, but this was the first TVMA MCU show that was based around Maya, who made her first debut in Hawkeye as an antagonist. She was such a niche character in the MCU that the marketing team knew damn well this show would not really get off the ground, so they just really honed in on the fact that Daredevil would be appearing, making it out like he would be a huge character in the show, only for him to get, and I shit you not, 1 minute and 38 seconds of screen time. Now the last example that everyone knows is Spider-Man No Way Home. This movie would literally not exist without the cameos of the Spider-Man actors. Now for some examples of corporate TV shows that could just take another art style because it's safe or just has no reason to exist. The best example of this is Mr. Birchum, which is a show that was airing when Smiling Friends Season 2 was airing, and after watching the first episode, this is such a nothing show that I'm surprised how much the void inside me has expanded. Some other shows that make me feel absolutely dead inside was Netflix's Hoops and Big Mouth and Max's Velma. I think we can all collectively agree that no one likes this show. I even pirated it, and I still feel like I got robbed. But you get my point. All these large studios treat you like garbage and think you're all lobotomites. So when their $40 million project flops, and because no one cares, this is their genuine reaction.
What is this shit? What's going on? Why don't they like it? We spent $250 million on this.
And this is the reason why I talk a lot about indie stuff on my channel. And as an absolute nerd for TV shows and movies, and probably as a closeted autist, I am so glad that this show, without hesitation, dedicated the second episode of the series shitting on the corporate meddling of beloved IPs and creative freedom, just to show you how out of touch these executives are with the pointless slop they produce. They do this again for the first episode in the second season, except for video games, but it's pretty much the same message as like the first time. Now back to my point of absurdity, as there is a clear and cut reason why this show resonates with everyone, and especially viewers online, because it understands internet humor, which is most likely a byproduct of the creators being two YouTubers, and understanding on a more personal level on what people would want to see and what audience they want to target, and the culture of the internet. This show is also pretty clever with its jokes and subtle gags, or best yet, subverting expectations. A good example is in episode 8 of season 1 where Charlie dies and goes to hell, and he meets Jeremy, whose sole purpose is just to annoy Charlie. The first time they meet, Charlie threatens him. The second time they meet, Jeremy comes out of literal nowhere, only to scare the viewer, and causes Charlie to actually punch him in the throat.
Dude, I warned you. I said I was going to do that if you did that again.
The last time we see Jeremy is when Satan starts torturing Charlie, and we can actually see him for a quick second and punch Charlie in the face to get back at him. Another good example of setting up and subverting expectations is the Forest Demon from episode 4. Pim goes into the forest to get some sticks for a fire, but gets lost and hunted down by a monster that lives in the woods. There's genuine tension and horror throughout the entire episode as Pim is fleeing for his life, and as he finally gets back to the Smiling Friends headquarters, this happens.
Whoa, is that f***ing blackface, dude?
No, this isn't blackface. I'm an actual demon.
Bro, please tell me that's not f***ing
Cool, man. Get the f out, man.
This is single-handedly one of the best subversions I've ever seen in this entire show. My last example of this is in season 2, when James is harassing Charlie and forces him to wear a maid outfit and makes him attempt to cook a casserole. As Charlie tries to plead with James, this happens.
Dude, I couldn't focus on what you were saying with that thing on your face. I was sick of staring at it.
I think after this clip, a point can also be made that this show can do random equals funny and do it right. There are other moments that I haven't put in this video, but if you've seen the show, you'll be able to point them out. Also, Smiling Friends has a few references to Oni plays where Zach Hadel would appear from time to time. Some of the nods being a time Zach and Oni were making a joke about Smiling Friends, and Zach said he would put a worm in episode 2. And if you look very closely in the background, you'll see a worm in Mr. Frog's animal exhibit. Another nod is when Zach would repeat the word goose pimples as another way to say goosebumps.
That was amazing. I just got goose pimples from watching that.
And the last thing I can include in this video without stretching the runtime is Zach screaming about 9/11.
Chris ran into my room and started shaking me and said, Lyle, wake up! You gotta wake up, please!
Lyle, turn on the TV! They hit the Pentagon! They hit the Pentagon!
I can't get up there.
Turn on TV, it doesn't matter what channel. Dude, check the news. It doesn't matter what channel.
Now, there really aren't any negative things I can really say about this show. It really hits the mark with every episode as they all have their unique charm to them and have something extremely memorable from each of them. The only real concern I have with this show is where it will go next. As of me writing the script, Smiling Friends was renewed for a 3rd season, and I'm only worried about where they're going to keep going and if they're going to stretch the show out to a point where it's just unnecessary. Now, there could also be a chance that there is nothing to worry about and they can execute it right, but I think it should be something we should all be a little concerned with. Overall, I think that's all I have to say. Smiling Friends is a show that we don't deserve, but we have it because of the genius creators behind it making a push for something more unique and genuine. And honestly, this could have been a series that existed on this platform or Newgrounds because of how many small references to internet pop culture there are in the show, and how the creators are already independent animators. There are probably plenty of other philosophical reviews on this show that came out when it was in its peak, but here I am a good year late to make a review. So for my final verdict, I give Smiling Friends the first official 10 out of 10 on this channel. And if there is anything that we could take away from this video, is that YouTubers can write a funny TV show. Anyways, if you did enjoy the video, please do consider leaving a like and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.